Bill's dimension was a nightmare of floating rocks and twisted reality. Dipper, Stan, and Ford walked carefully across glowing platforms, searching for any clue about Bill's past. "There has to be something here that can help us stop him," Ford said, checking his instruments. As they explored deeper, they found strange ruins covered in triangle symbols. "These look old," Dipper observed, touching the ancient walls. "Older than Bill himself." The symbols began to glow, showing them a path through the chaotic landscape. Following the glowing trail, they discovered a hidden valley where reality seemed more stable. In the center stood a small village of geometric beings. Triangles, squares, and circles living peacefully together. "Incredible," Ford whispered. "A civilization that survived Bill's chaos." An elderly triangle approached them, his form shimmering with age. "I am Euclidean," he said sadly. "I am Bill Cipher's father." The revelation hit them like a thunderbolt. Stan stepped forward. "His father? Then you know how to stop him." Euclidean led them to his home, where the walls were covered with pictures of a young Bill, smaller, happier, surrounded by family. "He wasn't always evil," Euclidean explained. "He was curious, wanted to see beyond our flat world. But when he gained the power to see other dimensions, it drove him mad. He destroyed our entire dimension," Euclidean continued, tears in his ancient eyes. "I barely escaped with a few survivors. We've been hiding here ever since, hoping someone would come who could help us save him." He pulled out a glowing crystal. "This is the memory stone. It contains all of Bill's original memories before the madness." Dipper examined the crystal. "You mean we can make him remember who he used to be?" Euclidean nodded. "But it requires getting close to him, touching his core with the stone. And he won't make it easy." Ford studied the crystal with scientific interest. "The energy readings are incredible. This could actually work." Suddenly, the ground shook as Bill's laughter echoed through the dimension. Well, a family reunion." Bill materialized above them, massive and terrifying. "Hello, Father. Still trying to fix me, I see." His eye blazed with fury as he spotted the memory stone. "My son," Euclidean said, floating upward. "Please, let us help you remember who you really are." But Bill's rage only intensified. "I remember perfectly. I remember being weak, being limited, being boring. I'm so much more now." He raised his hand to destroy the village. "Wait," Dipper shouted, holding up the memory stone. "If you're so powerful, then you're not afraid of a little crystal, right?" Bill paused, his eye narrowing. "You think that trinket can change me? Fine. Let's see what happens when I destroy it myself." Bill dove toward them, but as he reached for the stone, Dipper made a desperate move. He threw himself forward, pressing the memory stone directly against Bill's eye. There was a blinding flash of light, and suddenly Bill's screams filled the dimension, not of rage, but of remembrance. For a moment, Bill's form flickered, showing glimpses of the young triangle he used to be. I remember," he whispered, his voice small and confused. "I remember home. I remember love." But then his eye blazed again, fighting against the memories. "No, I won't go back to being weak." The memory stone cracked under the strain of Bill's resistance, its power fading. "It's not enough," Euclidean said desperately. "He's too far gone. The madness is too strong." But Dipper wasn't giving up. "Then we'll find another way. We'll keep trying until we save him." Bill's form stabilized, the madness winning over the memories. "How touching," he sneered. "But you're too late. Soon, I'll have consumed every reality, and there will be nothing left to remember." He began to fade away, returning to his conquest of the multiverse. As Bill disappeared, Euclidean handed them a small fragment of the broken memory stone. "Take this," he said. "It still holds some power. Perhaps, when the time is right, it will be enough." The fragment glowed softly in Dipper's hand, a tiny spark of hope in the endless chaos. "We'll stop him," Stan promised the grieving father. "We'll find a way to bring your son back." As they prepared to leave the hidden valley, They carried with them not just a weapon against Bill, but the knowledge that somewhere deep inside the Chaos Demon, a scared little triangle was still waiting to come home. A week has passed since adult Mabel's visit. The Mystery Shack is partially restored with new boards on the walls and temporary roofing. The Pines family is having breakfast at a makeshift table among construction materials. "Well, kids, today we finished the roof," Stanley says, chewing a sandwich. "Stanford, how are things going with that mysterious journal?" Stanford studies journal number 5 intently. "Fascinating. It describes creatures I've never seen before. Geometric demons similar to Bill, but completely different." "What kind exactly?" Dipper asks with interest. "Squares capable of altering reality through angles, pentagons that control time, and their creator, the architect. Mabel practices magic, creating a small pink shield. And I've almost mastered the protection spell. Look!" The shield flickers and disappears. Seuss enters with a hammer. "Hey, Mr. Pines, I finished the porch. But there's something weird." Everyone goes out to the porch. On the new boards, strange markings are visible, perfectly geometric indentations in the shape of triangles and squares. "What the heck?" Stanley says, puzzled. "I put these boards up yesterday. They were clean." Stanford studies the marks with concern. "These markings aren't random. Look, perfect angles, mathematical precision." Dipper takes out a magnifying glass. "They look like they were burned from inside the wood, but there was no heat. Is this related to what adult me was talking about?" Mabel asks nervously. Seuss scratches his head. "Maybe it's just really neat termites?" Suddenly, a faint shimmer appears in the air, a barely visible triangle outline. "Everyone back!" Immediately, Stanford shouts sharply. The shimmering triangle becomes brighter. This isn't Bill. The figure is smaller, silver-colored, with one red eye. "Scanning," the triangular scout says in a mechanical voice. "Subjects detected. Magical activity level low. Threat level minimal." "Is this one of those that adult Mabel wrote about?" Dipper whispers. The scout turns to Dipper. "Temporal anomaly reference detected. Report to architect required." Stanford steps forward decisively. "Who is the architect? What does he want?" The scout scans Stanford. "Subject possesses interdimensional travel knowledge. Interesting. You have created portals. Protect us from evil." Mabel shouts, casting a protection spell. A pink shield surrounds the family. The triangle bounces back. "Primitive magic, but effective," the scout says, surprised. "The architect will be intrigued." It disappears in a shimmer. Everyone gathers in the living room. Stanford frantically flips through journal number 5. "Okay, someone explain to me what that was?" Stanley asks, agitated. "There's a mention here," Stanford reads. "Architects' scouts. Minor geometric entities that gather information about potential worlds for conquest." "So we're on their radar," Dipper says grimly. "But my shield worked," Mabel says, hugging Dipper. "That means we can defend ourselves. Maybe we should make bigger shields?" Seuss suggests optimistically. "I could build something like a magical fortress." "Adult Mabel was right," Stanford says thoughtfully. "We need to prepare more seriously. This scout is just the beginning." "Then we prepare," Stanley says decisively. "We have experience dealing with weirdness." The family works on fortifying the shack. Stanley and Seuss install protective barriers, Stanford studies spells, the kids practice magic. "I'm getting it," Dipper says, creating a blue shield, though it only lasts a few seconds. "Mine lasts almost a minute now," Mabel says as her shield becomes brighter and more stable. "Probably because I believe in magic more." Stanford draws protective symbols on walls. These runes should make it harder for geometric beings to materialize. Stanley sets up homemade traps. "And these are good old mechanical contraptions, in case magic doesn't help. I made special hammers," Seuss says enthusiastically. "If these triangles are physical, we can bonk them." By evening, the shack has become a small fortress. Deep night. Everyone sleeps in the living room for safety. Suddenly, the protective runes begin glowing red. Alert! Everyone wake up! Stanford shouts, waking up sharply. Outside the windows, silhouettes flash. Several triangular scouts circle around the shack. There are more of them, Dipper says, looking out the window. They're trying to break through the runes. Mabel creates a protective shield. Enhanced protective measures detected. A scout's voice comes from outside. Tactical adjustment required. Well, shall we try driving them off the old-fashioned way? Stanley asks, grabbing homemade weapons. The family prepares for defense. Suddenly, a familiar blue portal appears in the air. 2 time guards emerge from it. Architect interference detected. Time Guard 1 says in a deep voice, "Timeline under threat. We can provide temporary protection." Time Guard 2 adds, "But you must become stronger." The guards raise their hands. A powerful energy barrier forms around the shack. The triangular scouts bounce off and disappear. "Why are you helping us?" Stanford asks, surprised. "The architect threatens not only your world. His plans affect the very structure of time." "What do we need to do?" Dipper asks boldly. "Learn, become stronger, prepare for what is coming." The guards begin to fade. "Remember," Time Guard 1 says finally, "your family is your strength, but family alone will not be enough." Morning. The Time Guard's energy barrier slowly fades. The family stands on the porch watching the sunrise. "Family alone will not be enough," Mabel says thoughtfully. "What does that mean?" "It means we need allies," Stanford says decisively. "Others who can stand against the architect." "Maybe there are other people studying magic?" Dipper suggests hopefully. "Or beings who are also against the architect?" "Well then, we have a plan," Stanley says optimistically. "Strengthen defenses, study magic, find allies, and build the coolest magical fortress in history," Seuss adds, raising his hammer. The camera pulls back, showing the shack against the forest backdrop. A small crack barely flickers in the sky. "We knew this was just the beginning," Dipper's voice narrates. "But we were ready to fight. Together." 6 months have passed since Dipper and Mabel Pines left Gravity Falls after the events of Weirdmageddon. Life in California had returned to normal, or as normal as it could be for 2 kids who had witnessed interdimensional chaos and battled dream demons. Dipper spent his evenings writing in his new journal, Journal Number 4, documenting every detail he could remember about their summer adventures. Meanwhile, Mabel knitted sweaters with pine tree patterns, each stitch carrying memories of their magical summer. But their peaceful routine was interrupted by an urgent phone call from Seuss. Strange things were happening in Gravity Falls again. Trees in the forest were glowing with an eerie light. McGucket's inventions were turning on by themselves, and even Gideon, now reformed, could sense a powerful energy building in the town. After hearing about the escalating anomalies and learning that Stan and Ford had mysteriously disappeared during their ocean voyage, their parents made an unprecedented decision. For the first time, they agreed to let the twins return to Gravity Falls during winter break. The bus ride back felt different this time. Snow covered the familiar landscape, and both twins seemed more mature, more prepared for whatever mysteries awaited them. When they arrived at the Mystery Shack, they found it glowing with the same strange energy affecting the rest of the town. Seuss welcomed them with worried hugs, and Wendy quickly explained the situation. The anomalies were concentrating around one specific location, the exact spot where Bill Cipher's statue had once stood in the forest. Gideon burst through the door, panic in his eyes, confirming their worst fears. Something was definitely stirring at that cursed location. The team quickly prepared for an expedition, Dipper with his journal, Mabel with her bag of gadgets, Seuss with his trusty flashlight, Wendy with her hatchet, and Gideon with a glowing crystal that seemed to react to the mysterious energy. As they ventured into the snowy forest, the air grew warmer with each step toward their destination. Soon, they could see a soft golden light glowing through the pine trees ahead. Not the menacing red of Bill's power, but something entirely different. "Whatever's waiting for us out there," Dipper said, gripping his journal tightly, "we're ready for it. Gravity Falls is calling us to a new adventure, and this time, we're not running away." The team moved forward together, united and determined, ready to uncover the next chapter in Gravity Falls' endless book of